Hey guys, welcome back. It's Sports with Mono and Mono. I'm Jim, and I have Steve here with me, of course.
Hi, everybody. How are you today?
So let's jump right into the fray here. What's kind of going on? Obviously, the NCAA tournament. It's been awesome, as always, right?
March Madness,
Has been mad.
and I
Been
think
mad.
March Madness really came to a head on Duke's game on Sunday, watching that.
Yeah,
And I watched it with my son, and I think that was his first exposure to March Madness, actually. So we were watching Duke and UCF and back and forth, and it was a thrilling finish. And you got to tip your hats to UCF and Coach Johnny Dawkins, ex Duke alum.
sure.
They had a good team, and they gave they gave them everything they had, really. And I still can't believe those balls didn't go in at the end for UCF, but
Yeah.
that's basketball.
Well, listen, I mean, there were a couple of a couple interesting things about that game. Was yes, either Johnny Dawkins going up against his former coach and so forth, and I mean, it was quite a moment after the game. So you could tell,
It's
how
emotional,
close those two
sure,
guys were.
no doubt.
That was great,
Yeah,
actually.
absolutely.
And you're right. The fact that that shot didn't go in, and this guy Taco Fall, UCF. I don't know. Has there ever been a guy taller in the NBA? Or I mean, in college basketball?
George Mirasan play NCAA basketball, or did he come from Europe?
Hmm.
Like the Princess Bride type of stuff, Andre the Giant type of thing, right?
Wow.
But can I remember a guy that tall in NCAA history?
I mean, what comes to mind? Obviously,
Manu.
Manu Bol, right, kind of
Right.
thing. But wow, I mean,
Oh
this
my,
guy looked 8 feet tall on television.
he did. And I never thought I would see somebody with a worse foul shot than Shaq, but
Yeah,
I
man.
saw it.
Right.
That's the guy you want to foul in crunch time. No
Oh
question.
yeah. Oh yeah.
But I mean, he's a presence out there. I mean, it made Zion Williamson look like an ordinary guy type of thing. But what a game he had. Shout out to him.
You bet. I mean, listen. I mean, now of course everyone's starting to say that Duke is vulnerable, right? That they can be beat. I think. Look, we know college basketball. Any team can be beat, but they got an outstanding starting five. I mean, I don't see them getting beaten at least until the Final Four. I mean,
And they're young, too. That's what makes it all that more impressive. But Zion really carried the load for them.
you sure did.
And I got to tell you, I don't know if I'm the only one who thought it. I actually thought Zion had an offensive foul on that. If you watch it, man, he nudged the guy, the guard, and I thought the guy had position too under the hoop. And I get they're not going to call it, but I mean I got to be objective when I'm watching it. And I mean I personally thought that was an offensive foul. However, UCF misses a free throw. Shame on them for not boxing out. Barrett gets the rebound and puts that two in at
Yep.
the end there.
Yep.
And but listen, that's basketball. So credit to Duke. They advance. It's March Madness. You're going to be in some tight games, and that's just the way it is. So
And I think both of us still have our Final Four, right?
We do.
Let's recap that for me. I have Duke, Michigan, Virginia, and Kentucky. And listen, I'm not wavering in those picks at all.
No.
Michigan looks pretty tough.
right, mine are Duke, Michigan, Tennessee, and North Carolina, and I got Duke playing Carolina and Carolina winning. And I'll stay firm on what we talked about last week. I think Duke and North Carolina are the two best teams. I know you're a Virginia guy.
Yep.
You got Virginia
In this
stock
tournament,
in this
anyway, yeah.
tournament.
But I will tell you, Gonzaga looks really, really good. If Michigan's going to get to the Final Four, they got to knock them off because they look really, really good
They
the
do.
other night.
And let's talk about the Sweet 16. There's some kind of odd names, I would think, for Sweet 16 when you think of Florida State. You don't think of Florida State basketball, right?
Virginia Tech, you know,
Virginia Tech, you know,
it's
Frank,
kind of probably what I think is probably the biggest surprise.
right? And Frank Beamer's not coaching the basketball team, right?
That's right.
Who else is kind of odd? Auburn is another football factory that I can't ever remember actually Auburn getting to the Sweet 16.
I don't know. When Barkley played, I mean, they may have gotten there,
Yeah.
but
Going off the top of my head here, but my point
Yeah.
is you just don't associate Auburn with, March Madness.
and I tell you, you know, I don't like to criticize or or sports guys, you know, being in the business, but you know, watching Charles Barkley, it's unwatchable.
No.
I mean, it's CBS has to really. I mean, do they want? You got smart guys like Clark Kellogg and Wally Serbiak, who really he's a quality guy.
And dresses very quality too.
Yes.
Wally's wardrobe is outstanding.
But what is with this Saturday Night Live skit with this Barkley? I don't get what CBS is doing. I'm hoping this is going to be the last year and they wise up to this because it's unwatchable.
Yeah, you know what's unwatchable is the commercial with Samuel L. Jackson, Spike Lee, and Charles Barkley. To me, that's unwatchable.
Oh, but I mean, really, I mean, this is supposed to be March Madness. It's not supposed to be the Charles Barkley show.
Yeah, but
And there's enough knowledgeable people, and I don't know. To me, it just seems ludicrous. I wish CBS would wise up.
That's right. So you're going to have to switch to NBC to watch Keenan Thompson do Charles Barkley because that's the only funny thing about it, in our opinion.
I bet it's actually he's probably already done it. If not then, this Saturday.
Yeah, but to your point, I'm with you 100%.
Oh.
Unwatchable,
It really is. I mean, you know.
right?
So listen, we'll follow up next week after the Sweet 16. We'll see where we stand, and again, very very exciting basketball. March Madness is cool.
Yep.
And the NIT, listen, we touched base on it, and I'll actually backtrack and say I had Xavier or NC State to win it. I know it's kind of the B League if you want, but these are some good teams. And Xavier got knocked out, but NC State's still on. I still see them as the eventual winner of the NIT.
Yeah, I mean, we want to cover it, obviously. It's college basketball. So, the NIT has been a fantastic tournament for decades. And, the Final Four will get to Madison Square Garden. And I don't know what else to say about the NIT. I really, to be honest, I haven't watched much of it.
Yeah.
But I think we just talked about some big schools are still around. I think Texas is still alive. I can see them probably getting to Madison Square Garden.
Indiana's still around, even though it's not the Indiana that we've grown accustomed to, but
Right.
they're still a number one seed in that tournament. So.
Right, but it's still worth college, or for our basketball fans, it's still worth buying a ticket to go to the Garden and watch back-to-back games.
Absolutely.
There.
And of course, the women's tournament is coming around, and obviously, looks like Baylor seems to be the cream of the crop. But how do you dismiss UConn and their history?
You don't. I would bet UConn any day of the week. I'm a Notre Dame fan. They're the defending national champs. They got a good team too. I can see at least those three being there. But UConn, I never discount. They are.
And I don't mean to be gender biased, but I may watch the Final Four, but I don't watch a lot of the preliminary games in the women's tournament.
I actually watch women's basketball. I kind of like it. But I'll put my money on UConn. I'm not betting Baylor in anything.
I don't know. Okay. Well,
Baylor.
I know it's Baylor. All right. So listen, let's move on. We'll certainly follow up with our basketball.
Okay.
What do you want to talk about? How about Major League Baseball? Obviously, opening day's coming, and
Yeah. And then again, the money has been thrown around this week. So Justin Verlander gets a 2-year, $66 million extension.
looks like 30 mil's the norm, huh?
It looks that way for premium pitching. And you know, Jacob DeGrom was in the news today, and he got a 5-year deal, and I think that was the smart thing for the Mets to do. They had to pay this guy. He warrants getting paid big money, and you know, this Brody Van Wagenen, the new GM, was an agent, and I think he was on record stating, "Pay the man, Roy." You know, Ross Perot back in the day, Dana Carvey doing that, Roy pay the man. So,
well, look, the reigning Cy Young champ and so forth, but
well deserved.
yeah, he's absolutely a great pitcher. So if they're throwing this kind of money around, he certainly deserves it. I don't have any problem with that at all.
Right now, I don't want to do the Murphy's jinx here, but you know.
Yep.
You know, but the guy's been solid. I'm not going to say it out loud, thinking it, but I won't say it. But DeGrom has been money for the Mets, and that's a good investment for them. But the point is, there's a lot of money being spent on pitching, like we talked about.
Oh, but they're all getting it. They're just printing money in Major League Baseball. I don't know where it's coming from.
We talked about it. You know, you were of the opinion that the ballparks aren't quite as full as back in the day. I disagree. And it all really, I think it's the streaming money and TV deals and
I guess
this revenue sharing and so on and so forth that there's a lot of dough there. So they got to spend it.
I know, but I mean, when you say you disagree that the ballparks aren't full, I mean, see what it costs to go to a Yankee game? I mean, can you afford to take your kids to a Yankee game?
No, I can't. And the only reason I would go is if somebody gives me a free ticket. Really. I mean, it's $50 to park at Yankee Stadium, and you got $15 on a bridge, right there.
And just the cost of a hot dog, it's gotten out of control.
A beer is what? Probably $11.
$12. Yep.
So do the math. It's I don't get it. You know.
But you're right. I mean, I guess it's the TV revenue, and it is the national pastime, so it does have some allure. But I just don't see the stadiums, you know, generating that revenue, but where the money's coming from.
And in their defense too, I mean, obviously when you watch a Yankee game, a Met game, you're looking at the first 2 rows. That's huge money, right? It's over $1,000 a ticket, I believe. However, in defense of Major League Baseball, especially the Yankees Mets, I think they try to make it as affordable as possible. So when you go on a StubHub or something like that, listen, you can buy a ticket for $15. This, that, and the other thing. But at the end of the day, once you get in that park and you got a couple small kids, you know, they want it all. They want the pennant, the shirt,
the foam finger,
the cotton candy, and on and on. But
yep.
It is. It's not like it used to be, I think.
But it's exciting, though. I mean, you cannot be excited for opening day and so forth, and that just opens the door for high school baseball and college baseball. It's just a good time of the year.
Yeah, and the big thing in Major League Baseball was Ichiro retiring.
I wanted to touch base on that. I did. Because, yes, he retired, and I'm guessing that's why they did this whole thing in Japan, opening it up. It was actually a week ago.
Right, but I'm sure that was pre-planned, obviously, schedule-wise, that those 2 teams committed to Japan. But listen, it worked out where, what is he, 45 now? He said, come on, he's when you associate a baseball player, it's him. Matsui has got a great resume, but I put him up there.
Right, but who's getting up at 4 o'clock in the
Not
morning
me.
to watch opening day in Japan?
I certainly didn't, but the fact that he was able to go home and, you know, get a few at-bats and walk away on his own terms and be recognized in front of his fans, I think that was a great exit for him.
I mean, I'm just going to state that I think this is America's game. It's the national pastime. It shouldn't be opened up in Japan.
No,
that's my feeling. And I think they're going to realize that when this is going to be the first and last time they're going to pull that stunt.
Right,
you know?
but I mean, it was a pleasure to watch this guy play baseball.
Yeah.
We heard about him. He came over, and I think all our fans kind of know what his resume is. And
surefire Hall of Fame.
All-time hits leader, obviously, you know, combined with Japan and Major League Baseball. However, 4,300 and change in hits is pretty impressive.
Yep.
Cannon of an arm.
Faster than lightning.
Fast. I think he's got the record for, I want to say he's got 10 seasons of 200 hits or more.
Sounds right.
And there's other things, AL Rookie of the Year, MVP.
Oh no, class
so
act.
on
I'm
and
not
so
dismissing that.
Ex-Yankee, so he actually wore some pinstripes.
Yeah, for 10 minutes.
Right. But we wanted to recognize him. He was a great ball player. Is he a Hall of Famer? I don't think there's any disputing that.
I don't know that anybody could possibly dispute that.
And first ballot? Maybe, probably.
I think so.
Right?
I think so.
Yeah. So a shout out to Ichiro for a great career.
And I always think about the tools that he had, he was fast, he could hit, and he could throw. First thing that comes to mind is Willie Mays, to me. I mean, I'm a Gehrig, I'm a Ruth, I'm a Williams guys. I mean, these guys were phenomenal, but Willie Mays could run, steal bases, hit, and throw and catch like nobody else.
Yep.
One of the most all around. And Ichiro was kind of in that. I don't want to put him in the Willie Mays category, but he had all those kind of tools.
No, just a
complete ball player.
Yeah, real talented major leaguer.
So we'll be excited. We'll follow up and see how opening day goes.
Yeah,
tomorrow, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Thursday.
Yeah, it's here.
Yep. So I guess let's touch base. I know it's kind of the off season. We know the draft is coming up, but the big news, I guess, is Gronkowski retires. Although they're kind of leaving the door open, like he retired, but he's possibly open to coming back to play in the second half of next year.
Right, if you possibly give me $10 million a year or something along those lines, possibly I'll come back. I mean, listen, what can you say about this guy? He's kind of unique, very productive if you look at his stats.
Most touchdowns in Patriots history.
I think he had 79 finished with. Like played 9 years, 3 rings. They talk about, is he a first ballot Hall of Famer? That's a debate, but he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, from a tight end position, I cannot dispute that.
I guess.
Whether he's a first ballot, I may have a little debate with that.
I'd like to see him wait a year or two.
But I think...
Look how long it took for them to put John Mackey in.
Yeah, I think in today's age, when he's eligible, he'll go in. He's associated with New England and excellence and Brady and all that stuff.
No, but he missed a lot of time over the course of his career.
I still haven't laughed at one thing out of his mouth. That's just me.
On his stand-up comedy routine?
To be honest, I'm not looking forward to seeing him on the screen or anything. I won't be following that. But I will acknowledge he was a hell of a football player.
Yep.
He played through pain.
Yep.
And he took some shots and very productive. So, he's 29. And we'll see. I'm not going to rule out that somebody doesn't make an offer for him to come back. And we'll see how he handles, living in the retirement community.
Yep. But, listen, so that's big, and obviously the draft, and I think, I don't know, there hasn't been a lot of, moving and shaking as far as that goes right now. I mean, I still think, the Giants have their eye on Haskins. He kind of impressed in his...
He did. He had a very good pro day.
Yeah, his pro day was pretty good.
I still think somebody, if they want him, they're going to jump.
Yeah.
And I can foresee the Jets sitting at 3. I think the Jets are open for business to move back a little bit, recoup a couple second-round picks that they gave up to Indianapolis to make the Darnold move. I can see that.
And I still think if they don't do that, and I still think, although it hasn't been on anybody's board, I think, being that he's a local guy, I think they're going to go with this guy, Rashawn Gary. The Jets have always been notorious for going with defensive linemen. And they always seem to pan out until they get rid of them in 3-4 years.
I don't think they're taking him at 3. I think this kid, Josh Allen, because Murray, it sounds like it's a done deal. He's going to go 1. They're going to trade Rosen. I think we can safely assume that's what's going to happen.
I agree.
I can see Nick Bosa then going number 2, San Fran. Then the Jets have this choice of Josh Allen out of Kentucky, and by all reports, this guy's a beast. So I would lean towards them taking him. Gary, I think third overall is a little bit of a stretch. However, if they do make that trade backwards, I can see them taking Gary.
Yeah.
In 8, 9, or wherever they, fall back to.
He's a local kid. He's a
absolutely.
Jersey kid, and I can see that. That's why that
The
would.
kid was the number one recruit in the nation.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
And we saw him play.
And
he
we saw him play.
He was as good as advertised in high school. I can tell you
Listen,
that.
if the Jets get him and recoup, like I said earlier, a second-round pick or so on, I think that's fine. But they need help. Jets have a lot of holes to fill, just like the Giants. I still think when you mentioned Haskins, I don't know if they're all in on him, to be honest. I'm back and forth with that. And I can see Gettleman going with a stud for that 6th pick and the 17th pick, and maybe because you got Eli coming back for that 1 year, maybe they like a quarterback better in next year's draft. Either this Justin Herbert out of Oregon, or Tua.
Well, this is what I think. I don't think there's...
Just throwing it out there.
Right, but I think they had no choice but to take Barkley. It proved to be the right choice. The kid's going to be a stud. I think they have to go quarterback, even if they do move down in the draft for another couple of picks. They could pick up Drew Lock if Haskins is gone. Because I told you, I really like this kid.
But they got to be right. The thing is, Gettleman has to be right in whoever he picks.
And they have to get a quarterback now. Because
on the quarterback. That's what I mean. And I can live with them not, listen, they're not all in, I get it. Then they're waiting till next year. Because they can get 2 studs. They got to get some help on the offensive line, obviously, and the defensive guy. So we'll see. Gettleman trading Odell. Obviously, he picks up the phone and will entertain any offers. So the Giants may also, listen, at 6, and they're not sold on Haskins, maybe they drop a couple slots too and get extra picks. However, they have a lot of picks. I think the Giants got 12 picks coming up in the draft. So they have to, replace the groceries. There's no question. So,
well,
to be determined.
And I think they clean it out. They got rid of Vernon, who I thought was one of the most overrated players.
Yeah, but they're getting rid of all the riffraff. They're trying to, I think, get back to having a good culture in the locker room. There's Pat Shermer. Obviously he had a tough first year, but he's a disciplinarian type of guy, and if you don't fall in line, you're out the door, and we just saw that.
Well, we'll see. As we'll talk about it certainly on next show if there's any movers and shakers. But I look for most of the activity to be done on draft day, and there'd be some surprises, of course. NHL, of course, the playoffs are rapidly approaching. You know what I think loses, the majority of the public with the NHL? The season is so long. I mean, and the playoffs could go, 28 games if you play.
The Stanley Cup final. It's normally 97 degrees out here in North Jersey. You were playing golf, and did you watch the Stanley Cup final last night?
Yeah.
You don't really associate it. That's a valid point. It's a long season.
It is.
However, that's the way it's been since...
and
time began.
And true hockey fans love it. But I tell you, this Tampa Bay Lightning team seems to be, one of the most powerful teams we've seen in the past 15 years.
Well, I talked about them a few shows ago,
You did.
I'm staying with them. They are loaded. And for our Ranger fans, it's uncanny how many Rangers are on that team, ex-Rangers. JT Miller, McDonough, Girardi, to... Callahan, Strawman. The list is extensive.
But, like I said, I mean, a lot of people don't start tuning in because, it gets lost in the March Madness. But we'll certainly keep you guys updated and so forth because hockey is awesome.
And the Capitals, let's not discount them. They're the NHL defending Stanley Cup champions.
They are.
Until they get a big injury. They're loaded for bear, too. So... I think the Eastern Conference, it's going to be good playoff hockey.
It's going to be.
And, we'll cover NHL playoffs as they approach.
And, of course, obviously the NBA is winding down, too. Like I said, it's kind of hard for me to get overly excited about the NBA because I just don't know what it is. I mean,
We used to love the NBA growing
I
up,
know, we did.
and we don't love it anymore. I'm just being
Yep.
honest too.
Yep.
We're covering it. It's our job, and we still, don't get me wrong, we still have passion for it, but nowhere near of in our youth.
And we certainly admire the top players, right?
No
we
doubt.
don't dismiss Harden and Giannis and all these
Westbrook
other guys.
and,
yeah.
and LeBron and
Durant,
sure,
and
Steph
Curry.
Curry and so on and so forth. However, do I get thrilled about it? I really can't say I do, but I do. Like, to your point, there's certain players that you want to tune into and watch.
Right.
And I'm going to, I'll say this again, I'll stick to it. I just don't foresee Golden State losing again. So I'm going to put my money on them until they're beat. And but they'll break up after this year. It's time. Durant's going to move on, it sounds
I
like.
think I agree with you that they're still the class of the league. But yeah, I think they're going to break that team up. I think for some reason Durant and these guys, they're just not getting along with Green and all these guys. But
Which is understandable. Right? Durant is going to be his fourth year with them, I think, right? And that crew of Curry and Green and Klay Thompson, they've been together,
yeah.
right? 6, 7, 8.
And look, I mean, someone's going to throw ridiculous money at these guys. I mean, so I mean,
you got max money.
And if you got a handful of rings, then you got to take the money.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see any other way.
Right, and the Knicks are finishing out. Again, they're maneuvering for some ping pong balls. Back
Yeah.
to our Zion discussion earlier.
Yep.
I think he's the consensus #1 pick now.
I don't think there's any reason to think otherwise. to
But
be quite
listen,
honest.
it depends on the ping pong balls. The Knicks could fall as far as, I want to say, 5th or 6th, in theory. But they're going to get a good player. And, we didn't mention on our opener about this Ja Morant kid from Murray State.
Yeah.
But what a good-looking ball player he is.
Wow.
So listen, I mean,
we really couldn't formulate much of an opinion other than what we read in the paper
Yeah.
because who sees Murray State
I've
play?
never seen him play before. Somebody even asked me, "What's Murray State's mascot nickname type of thing?" I said, "I'm good, but I'm not that good."
The Racers?
The Racers.
Yeah.
But off the top of my head, I didn't get it. And my point being is
He
Murray State.
He
But
is some
he's a
kind of ball player.
So he got the 9th triple-double in NCAA tournament history, which I found kind of interesting. Only 9, right? Triple-double with some great players who've gone through that tournament.
And I think from a public eye perspective, he certainly got put on the map. I mean, I think all the NBA scouts realized what kind of player this kid was. So
Listen, he may even go higher than R.J. Barrett.
right. I could
But
see.
you can't go wrong either way with those two.
But I don't think there's any reason to think that Zion's not going to be the first pick, and then number 2 could be Barrett or could be Morant. I don't
Right.
think you can go wrong either way.
Yeah.
But I think the league wants the Knicks to get that ping pong ball and take Zion Williamson.
Yeah,
Because it has been ugly basketball in New York for a long time.
So anybody outside of the New York area listening, I mean, I don't even know how we can even convey how bad it's been for over 20 years now.
Yeah.
It's just been god-awful.
But
they're in a
this
position-
year in particular, I mean, you're talking about the worst season in New York Knicks history, and it's ugly.
It's awful.
It's
And
ugly.
on the flip side, I think the Brooklyn Nets have turned it around.
Yeah.
Obviously, after the Paul Pierce trade, so to speak, and gave up all that capital. And I'm not killing the Nets for making that deal. They tried to win the championship in that year.
Yep.
And did they give up an awful lot? Yes, they did. They're still kind of paying the price. But I think they got a good GM.
And they got a lot of good young talent.
And they got a
now.
good coach, it's Kenny Atkinson. So
Yeah.
I think as we broadcast now, they are in the 8th spot, and they actually have a shot of making the playoffs.
I think they're going to.
And they're only going to get better. They're young.
Yep.
And I'm very surprised on D'Angelo Russell, how good he is, actually, because I kind of, You know, he's at Ohio State, was a high pick by the Lakers. I just thought the kid wasn't all there mentally, but I got to tell you, I'll say I was wrong. He looks good. He's leading the Brooklyn Nets. He's
Yep.
scoring. He's dishing.
Yeah,
He's
no.
turned into a pretty good ball player.
He's kind of the surprise, I think, of the league this year.
Yeah.
One of the top surprises.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand what went on in Los Angeles or whatever, but he seems to have found a home in Brooklyn.
Right?
I mean, I don't think anybody knows anybody on the Nets, but they're actually a pretty decent team right now. So
Yeah. So,
we'll see.
Yep.
So listen, let's do a quick for our shout out segment here. I got a couple of fans I wanted to acknowledge. My neighbor Thalia, who's a loyal listener, and
I saw you.
Thank you for your support, and really, she's just been loyal and always asked when the next show is. Well, we're mentioning you this time because we appreciate your support.
Thank you, Thalia.
And also have a listener out in Arkansas, of all places, Walter Hahn, listens to the show, gives some good feedback and so forth. When you're in Arkansas, all you do is try to worry about, when football starts. I don't know what else there is to worry about. So he asked me about it, what are my thoughts on Arkansas this year? I said, well, it's going to be a long year because they're in
You haven't been relevant in a while.
in a long while.
Which is odd because Arkansas obviously has a historic
Yeah.
football program.
I mean, but I got to give him that. He's a loyal listener, and he's certainly loyal to the Razorbacks.
All right, go Hogs, go Hogs.
Go Hogs. And listen, before we sign off, let's shout out to Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut. Again, very loyal sponsor for us, and as has been Harley Davidson of Utica and Di Filippi Bakery in Monticello. So,
Absolutely. Thanks.
thank you guys for that, and looking forward. Enjoy the Sweet 16. It's coming up, and I can't wait to talk about it next week.
Right?
And Steve, give her the email for our fans.
No, if you've got any questions, comments, please email us. Okay? Sports with mono and mono at gmail.com.
Yep.
Sports with mono and mono at gmail.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Thank you, as always, for listening today. And we will talk early next week. So Sweet 16, Thursday.
Let the madness continue.
Right, but that's a great, not only the opening day and day two, but this Thursday coming up, that's some good stuff for our basketball fans and us in particular to watch that.
And 2 weeks from the Masters, so we got a lot of stuff
yeah.
coming up.
Sure.
All right, folks. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch up to you next week.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night. Thank
All
you.
right. Bye.